Danny.
Calling Danny.
Danny.
Josh.
We are going to let it shine this morning. You ready to shine?
Stand if you will.
Here we go. I'll be the first on the dance floor, the first to raise my hand, the first to state my opinion, the first to take a stand. I won't play it safe and wait for a sign. Gonna throw myself out there and let my light shine. Let it shine, let it shine. I'll let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. I'll be on Oprah and Conan, 60 Minutes and The View. They'll all be talking about me and all the things I do. Be the one who sets the bar, the one who's in the know. Folk will come to me to see where fashion trends will go. Yes, I shine, yes, I shine. I let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. For too many years I hid my light, fearing I was too much and who I was just wasn't right. And I heard this voice from within and up above, say you're here to be a shining light, give and receive love. Now I'm going for my dreams, nothing's in my way. Carpe diem is my mantra, practice kindness every day. I take time to connect, take time to have fun. Wanna know I've used up every drop before my life is done. Let it shine, let it shine. I let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. Let it shine, let it shine. I let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine.
I feel sunny. Good morning. I'm Connie Lucas, a member here at Unity for 14 years now, and I want to welcome you to Unity of the Hill Country, where we offer a positive path for spiritual living. If you'll join me in prayer now. We give thanks for this beautiful day full of possibilities. We feel God's presence and power in us and all around us. We are truly blessed. Feeling wholeness, we extend this blessing to everybody. We bless all the people, regardless of what they believe or who they love. We know that there are many paths to God, many names for God, but only one God. And God is expressing through all creation. We come together this morning to experience and express in the Christ Spirit that dwells within each of us. And so it is. Amen. If you are joining us on Facebook from home, we would like to take a moment and say welcome and connect in consciousness. Please feel free to comment and introduce yourselves, and this is our time to be together and share in love. Feel free to post and to tweet about Unity of the Hill Country, but please silence your phone so it doesn't disturb our gathering. Unity is a global, inclusive, and spiritual community. We offer practical, uplifting resources to help people of all faiths apply the positive spiritual principles. Unity provides a philosophy that is spiritual, not religious, and love-based, not fear-based. And if you'll please join me now in stating our mission and vision statements. To live consciously celebrating the divine potential in all, and our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God, the good, the omnipotent. June is Pride Month. It is a good reminder for us that Unity is a safe place to explore spirituality. Unity provides a positive alternative to negative religious experiences. Happy Pride. It's also Celebration Sunday, the first Sunday of the month. We take time to honor birthdays and anniversaries, answered prayer, and everything in between. If you have something you'd like to celebrate, please stand or raise your hand and make it known, and speak out so I can hear, so I can repeat it for our at-home group. Okay, who's first? Yay! We have a June 1st birthday, and your name is? Brendan's having a birthday the 1st of June. Happy birthday. Brad. Brad on the 24th. Bob.
Carla Buchanan, and Carla's birthday was Friday, and the reason I'm calling her out or shouting out to her is she's moving here to Kerrville some point this summer, so Carla Buchanan will be joining us, and she was checking us out and likes what she's seeing and hearing. Okay?
Good. Carla Buchanan, who's online celebrating a birthday, and she's going to move here. Yay! Mandy? Yay! Mandy's got a raise. Can you spare me $5? And Norma. Oh, happy anniversary. Mac and Norma's 27th anniversary. Good for you. Anybody else? That it? Okay. Well, happy celebration to all of you, to each and every one of you. Thank you for sharing with us. Now, if you'll join us in the blessing of our celebrants with the affirmation on the screen. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, we behold the Christ you are. And now Reverend Bob has a few announcements.
Sit down. So if you want to hoard that, you do it.
I can do it.
I just wanted to add on, this is Pride Month, and nobody keeps records of these things, but apparently we were the first, if not one of the first denominations. Yes, we welcome you the way you are. I know Carla and I took a field trip when we were in seminary to the Metropolitan Community Church there in Kansas City, and their thing is LGBTQ, but he says, yeah, but we teach them that what they're doing is immoral. So it's like, no. So if you have, friends, relatives, acquaintances, I slipped a few people cards this week who I didn't really know, but my gaydar kind of went off, and it's kind of like, okay, check us out, kind of a thing. So that's what I just wanted to remind you. I know last year at the convention, this minister, Linda, who had been ordained back in 1978, was sharing how it was interesting because Unity had been ordaining LGBTQ ministers before they were called LGBTQ ministers for decades. And I know John Shelby Spong talked about in the Episcopal Church. I've ordained plenty of gay ministers, just they weren't allowed to say anything about it. So yeah, what she said was, before the ordination, they gave them a warning, so don't declare that you are LGBTQ, or we will not ordain you, because we can't do that until society catches up. So, a little long-winded way of saying, these are people who really want to explore their spirituality. They just don't know that we're here, and that's why we put these little flags out by the driveway. I was having a conversation with a 13-year-old this week, and they pointed out to me, how do I know that you're a church that would welcome me? And so came up with this idea. I found these little garden flags. So you see them out there at the end of both, or I should say all three of our driveways. We've got a little walk back out here. So I'm going to pass it back to Connie.
And now she's lost her place. Okay. Our daily word. The daily word helps to keep the unity movement connected worldwide since 1924. And this week's reader is Anita Poe. The unity movement started in 1889 with answered prayer. Myrtle Fillmore was healed of tuberculosis, and we are honored to pray with you. Place a prayer request in the prayer box near the door. Email us or go to unity-hillcountry-.org and click on Ministries. Nita?
Good morning. My name's Anita Poe. I've been coming to Unity for almost 20 years now, and it doesn't seem that long. Good morning, I'm Anita, and it's my pleasure to read the Daily Word with you today. We join with millions of Daily Word readers around the world in receiving this message. The Christ candle is lit, representing the divine nature within all of us. And the word for today is release. The affirmation, regular releasing keeps me in the flow of life. Let's say that together. Regular releasing keeps me in the flow of life. I have been changing as long as I've been alive and will continue to evolve as long as I live. I make room for the person I'm becoming through releasing, which is an important part of my spiritual practice. Just as I would not fill my closet with clothes that no longer fit, I do not fill my life with beliefs and ideas that no longer reflect who I am and who I am becoming. Regular releasing creates space in my life for new things to come in. It is my way of remaining open to possibility, the welcoming new opportunities, of keeping myself in the flow of life. Releasing is also a powerful way to live my faith. I trust I am moving in the right direction and release items from my past easily and with gratitude for the role they played in my life. Psalms 51:10, create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Let's repeat the affirmation, please. Releasing keeps me in the flow of life.
And now if you'll join us in our congregational song, In the Garden. You can follow along with the lyrics on the screen, and our music team will help us with the melody. And following that, we will prepare for our period of meditation with the song In the Stillness of the Silence.
Falling on my ear, the Son of God.
faith and zeal now fill our hearts. It is time now for some meditation and prayer. If you haven't already, close your eyes. Just take a nice deep breath. Feel your feet flat on the floor, grounded as if you were growing roots. Feel the back of the chair against your back. On your left hand is your smallest finger, cool or warm right now. Your body is safe and secure. So let's be still and go within. Draw our focus from our head down to our heart. And from our heart to the area between our navel and heart, the very center of our physical body, which is also the very center of the spiritual essence of who we are. The gateway of Chi. We feel the loving energy just flowing forth in all directions as we just allow ourselves to get out of the way and allow the divine flow in and through our lives. In unity, whenever we start some prayer time, we take a moment to pray for others. Bring to mind any individuals, any families, any groups, any situations you'd like to pray for now. We include all the prayer requests received here at Unity of the Hill Country in our prayer box by the sanctuary doors or online at unityhillcountry.org. And we see and we know that the divine substance, the divine potential, and the divine perfection are in and expressing through each of these prayer requests as wholeness, as their highest good, today and every day hereafter. Let's now pray for Unity of the Hill Country. We see Unity of the Hill Country thriving in consciousness, people, and revenues today and every day hereafter. The God present says Unity of the Hill Country is a divine magnet, attracting anyone who can benefit from who we are and what we are about, attracting health, prosperity, love, and joy to Unity of the Hill Country and all who are guided here today and every day hereafter. I now invite you to take the words I'm about to speak as your prayer this morning. No matter what is happening in my life, I know that the help and support of the God presence all will turn out well, even better than I could have expected. I have 12 spiritual gifts, and I call them forth now. I simply pray, God, help me. The fog begins to lift, the mist clears. Any sense of frustration now dissolves and is released. I place this situation in divine order. I release it and let it go. My mind is part of the much larger divine mind. And I allow that beacon of the divine mind to lead my way. And as I prepare for 3 minutes of silence, I embrace and express this divine idea of order in the silence. Thank you, God, for your presence in us, through us, and as us. Everywhere I go and everything I do is happening within the God presence. I sense this. I feel this. Deep down, I have always known this. So as I move through the coming week, I know that things change. I am willing to embrace that change. That a thought combined with passion equals a belief. And if I believe, I can demonstrate that life is a cycle of creating, persisting with that creation, and then dissolving it when it is no longer necessary in my life. And for my ever-growing awareness of the omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence of God, I open my heart chakra and pour forth gratitude. I pray these things in the name and the nature and the power that we know is symbolized by Jesus Christ. And as we are drawing our focus back to the sanctuary, and releasing these prayers into the spiritual realm. We know that perfect results are unfolding here in the physical realm too. And we ponder the invocation written by one of our founders, Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. And by divine wisdom now erase our mortal limitations. And from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. Amen. Let's sing the Alleluia chant. Obviously, we did Celebration Sunday. Good reminder that there's some refreshments afterwards. In fact, Amy Ducharme made us a carrot cake. And if you've ever had one of Amy's cakes, you'll know what heaven is. First, I guess let's do the virtual hug. Two caterpillars were sitting on a branch, looking up into the sky, and along comes a butterfly. One caterpillar turns to the other and says, "You'll never get me up in one of those things." You know, isn't that way life is? It seems like sometimes our biggest fear is something that we need to embrace, accept, and be willing to transform through. When I was a boy in Chicago, I noticed, these circadian rhythms. The year didn't really start in January, but started in September with school. Went forward. And then, of course, in Chicago, October, all the leaves are changing and falling. There's this wonderful crispness in the air. And then that last week of October, first there's Halloween. We get to go out and beg for candy. But a few days before that is my birthday. So, talk about a double header of joy. I get the birthday and the gifts, and then Halloween. And then comes November. November in Chicago is depressing. It seems like for some reason the sky is generally overcast. All of the leaves are off the trees. It's getting a little too cold. And then suddenly Thanksgiving comes along. And long lead up to Christmas, etc. We have these experiences that go in circles. They come back. But then other experiences where we have to break through to our new self, our new life. And that can be a little bit of a challenge. We do have, though, this continual transformation, provided we don't get in the way. As children, many of us learned about butterflies. Caterpillars actually place the eggs underneath the leaves so they're protected. And I was reading and preparing for this lesson that they've been doing some study of what the caterpillar uses to stick these eggs on the underside of a leaf, and they're finding that it's stronger than super glue. If they just figure out the history and all behind it, you know, I said, wow, it'd be pretty handy to have. But then, of course, you know, the caterpillar emerges. Of course, the meal's right there. You start with the leaves and you're eating. Now, one thing I didn't know is it turns out caterpillars do molt like snakes and serpents. We talked about a few weeks ago with the Mother's Day and Adam and Eve. But then eventually it forms this cocoon, and when it's ready, bursts open, and it has a new life. Suddenly we are one of those things. The challenge is, though, in our human nature, we want to get to that point like, okay, everything's done. And everything's great and everything's comfortable. But then suddenly, the universe seems to throw us a curveball. And we're ready to take a swing at it. So we have this metaphor, and in our own lives, we had this amazing journey where this spermatozoa comes together with an egg, and we form this body over 9 months with the strong collaboration of the mother. And we're born. Suddenly we've gone from a water creature to an airborne creature. And we're very dependent upon this mother, or at least whatever adult figures are in our lives. And then comes a point where we need to become an adult. And that's one of the big challenges. You know, we don't have a real strong ritual for that. Now, we do have, you know, this month you get high school graduations, college graduations, and of course, getting your driver's license, you know, there's all things, but it's not. There needs to be something that happens within us, spiritually and psychologically, that says, I am ready to be a full participant in collaborating in this society. And it's strange, though, because we seem to celebrate the rebels. But until we are willing to make this world a better place with our own spiritual balance, we'll be uncomfortable. Sometimes it's a good place to be. But I know when I discovered, you know, Unity in Chicago in 1987, it was like, oh, I'm getting it. Now I'm seeing some of this religious symbolism that I didn't really recognize before, and I see how it helps me not become more spiritual. I'm already a spiritual being having a human experience, but I can begin to understand it. I can begin to participate. We're part of something bigger than ourselves. But that's when real work begins. I saw a T-shirt on a 93-year-old woman years ago that said, God is not done with me yet. And that's the weird thing about it. You know, transformation literally means going beyond your form. And I do tend to embrace the attitude of like, when I am done in this lifetime, you will be doing my memorial service. Then I'll move on to another lifetime. I want to experience it all, male, female, gay, straight, you know, all of these things that make puzzle pieces come together. So suddenly starts to make sense of what it is that we're not fully understanding today. In the Christian Testament, the first letter to the Corinthians, Paul writes, for our knowledge is imperfect. Our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child, and I became an adult. I gave up childish ways. For now, we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. So what do you see when you look in a mirror? And I think of the decades of me looking in the mirror, I'd be looking for the flaws. I'd be trying to figure out how to cover up my flaws. I don't want other people to know I'm flawed. And yet, what I learned was when I did open my heart to show that, yeah, I'm flawed, that's what really opens the compassion in our connections with each other. So, we look for these flaws in our past, our present, and future, and be willing to embrace them, recognize they're a part of us. There's a difference between capacity and potential. And our capacity is who we are now. We have this idea of who we are and what we can handle. And then there's potential. And that's usually where the universal curveball comes in. Well, something within us kind of stirs at some point. There's this impatience. I was thinking of Carla and I having a conversation last night. Because she was sensing, that I was getting to the point. I'm a car guy. She says, let me guess, you like to buy a new car. Says, I'm just afraid you're going to do it without talking to me first. I was like, have I ever done that? So we always have conversations about that. I said, yeah, but things that I got to put it all in fine order. Just know the proper sequence will unfold. I have the idea, the thought, the feeling, put it out there. Demonstration comes. Sometimes it comes in the next minutes, sometimes some point in the next few years. But you have a good example in the story of Jesus. People debate whether Jesus of Nazareth actually existed or not. The point is the spiritual lesson that's there, and how it is parallel to many of the other spiritual traditions about this person discovering that he or she is much bigger than themselves, shed their flaws and move forward. But we're told, or at least it's assumed, that Jesus is a carpenter. Why? Because his dad was a carpenter. And back in those days, you went into the family business. In fact, if you were in town as an adult child, and you had a conversation with somebody and did a handshake deal, like, yes, my son is a duly legal representative of the family business. So you would keep your word. And yet, when we look at this, nobody really understands how long Jesus was doing his ministry. Some Bible scholars kind of estimated, well, there's about 3 years worth of material there. So we think it's 3 years, but why did he wait until he was 30 years old to start it? Well, back in those days, they would have, town halls and discussions. When you were 30 years old, you had to sit and shut up. They didn't think you had the wisdom or the experience to really add them to the conversation. I don't believe that about myself. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and I've gotten some of my great insights, like this 13-year-old I was talking to a couple weeks ago about, well, how do I know that this is an LGBTQ-friendly place? So yes, we get wisdom through the mouths of babes. So to embrace what we call the Christ consciousness, the spiritual thing that's bigger than us, we need to let go of things like criticism, self-defeating talk, being willing to feel the fear and do it anyway. Being willing to embrace that we are both spiritual and divine. We can be in this world but not of it. We go through life, and we find ourselves facing the challenge, and then we handle the challenge. And like I said, okay, everything's good. But then there's another challenge, and sure, again and again and again. I had a guy on a street corner in Chicago ask me if I'd been born again. I said, yes, and again, and again, and again, and again. It's not just one thing. And then the late Shadow Shea talked about how he had a spiritual awakening in North Carolina by going to one of Billy Graham's rallies. It's in a Billy, and he felt it. He came to the altar call, and you're saved. And he was so excited. He came back the next night, and they were doing the same thing. And he went to one of the staff and said, "This is the same thing from last night. What do we do next?" He goes, "Oh, you don't have to worry about it. You're saved." No, that's not quite what I'm feeling. I'm feeling there's something else. So we have this cycle where we create, and then we persist with that creation, and then it gets to the point where We need to let go of it. We need to dissolve it. And if we don't let go of it, dissolve it, God usually comes by with the spiritual 2x4 and gives us the dope slap. Sometimes a crisis in our life to get our attention to snap out of it. So we look at these outer appearances, and we see in these biblical stories there is a phrase that is there. It's called, "It came to pass." It did not come. We did not set up camp there. We would wallow in it. Each of us has these special gifts, which are symbolized by the 12 powers, the 12 disciples. One of the gifts is this gift of wisdom, where we get to the point in life where we recognize we don't label something as being permanent. We label it as being temporary. There's a difference between saying to somebody, "You're a liar," compared to saying, "You just lied to me then." Why? You see, you're putting a label on a person. Let it know that things can change. Things always change. So we have these gifts of enunciation and faith, the ability to say no, the ability to say yes, the ability to let go, and the ability to embrace. And we have this wonderful imagination that allows us to form these thoughts, to see what it is we want to create next. The journalist Napoleon Hill wrote a landmark book in 1937, Think and Grow Rich. And in it he wrote, "First comes the thought, then comes the feeling. Then there's an organization of this into belief, to ideas, into plans. Then transformation of those plans turns it into reality. The beginning, as you will observe, is in your imagination." A lot of you know I worked in radio and TV news there for about 17 years. In Chicago, all of these radio stations were started like in the early 1920s. And, companies would do it to kind of help promote themselves and all of that. In Chicago, there's this tradition of using the call letters as initials of something about the company. WGN, 7:20 a.m. WGN meant the world's newspaper because the Chicago Tribune owned it. WBBM. WBBM was the world's biggest battery maker. The Ace Battery Company, which eventually became Ace Hardware. And then there's WLS, world's largest store because it was owned by Sears. And we're getting to the point where we don't remember that from about 1892 when it was founded to about 1980, Sears was the Amazon of its time. It was a catalog place. Of course, being in Chicago, you got the rails going all the various directions. You could order anything you wanted from Sears, ship it out to you. But one of the stations I worked was WMAQ, and the odd thing about WMAQ was it was owned and established by the NBC radio network, and so they came up with, "We must answer questions," at WMAQ. And I thought, we need to ask the questions and seek the answers that are appropriate for us. We need to realize, we are one with something bigger than ourselves. And if we put ourselves in alignment with that thing, or whatever it is, we call it God, Christ consciousness, whatever, suddenly we are co-creators in this world. Challenge is recognizing that sometimes the entire plan is not presented to us. Sometimes it's just, what's the next step? And the next step, say, I can't take that step until I go to the end of the journey. I know Joseph Campbell talked about, when you're going through life and you think you've got a goal that you're going to, but you recognize that the farther you get into life, the goal seems to be farther and farther away. Perhaps not about the goal, it's about the journey. What we're experiencing daily, weekly, monthly, and how we are treating each other. So, are you facing a challenge in your life right now? Are you fighting it? Are you trying to suppress it? Or are you saying, okay, I am willing to embrace this. I am willing to say, God, show me the good in this because I don't have it. Some people find it frustrating. I'm reinventing myself. I don't want to reinvent myself. I like myself. Why does it have to be this way? A man standing there looking up at the clouds saying to God, why me? Here's the voice, why not? We're not spiritual awake, like I said. God will wake us up and give us that challenge. It's like, okay, now that I have your attention, and we proceed. The author Thomas More wrote that the major commitment of humanity for every person is to become a whole new person on a regular basis. Earlier I mentioned the caterpillar and the butterfly. And I think a lot of us can relate to it because we've been there. We're cruising along, never get me up in one of those things, and then suddenly we're in the cocoon. And the scientists who study this say the caterpillar suddenly liquefies. So you ever imagine my life feel like I've been thrown into a blender and someone hit the button of puree. And it becomes this golden liquid that eventually becomes a whole new creature. You know, in 1986, I was at a time I was going through a divorce with my first wife, and yet I discovered golden liquid. I met Carla Golden. If you're asking what the liquid is, I think I remember, even if she didn't literally do it, she threw a drink in my face in some ways, because Carla had gone through a divorce herself and was willing to say to me, cut the bullshit, get to the point. And oh man, especially early on, that really would piss me off, But it's kind of like, get real. Why are you playing these games? So out of that liquid within the cocoon comes that transformation, but the patience, allowing this divine order to be established. And that's what I pray often, to hate divine order in this, rather than feeling I need to cling to it and make it happen the way I want it to happen. We human beings do not like to wait. I'll hear somebody complaining about how it's taking 15 seconds for that website to. And I'll think of the early 70s with my manual typewriter as a budding young journalist. And I'll think about having to order things like getting the Sears catalog, and you place the order and eventually you hear whether it's out of stock or not. A lot of companies back then would actually send you something a little bit better if they're out of stock, a little ways to look for it. It's gone. But yeah, there's this sense of like need to be productive. We've moved out of that agricultural era where you planted the seeds in the spring and you harvested in the fall and you were patient. Suddenly we have the industrial age where it's kind of like, well, geez, this machine is broken, let's fix it. But we're still more connected to the earth than we are to the physical machines we have created. So it is weird that when these new challenges do come into our life, it surfaces all the stuff that we're afraid of, or the things, the assumptions that we have about why it needs to be this way and not that way. And that's our opportunity again, rather than resist, fight it. It's like, okay, God, show me the good in this. So when we do have the universe testing us and saying, okay, you have this idea, this feeling that it sticks with you. Is it a whim? Well, maybe not. That then, these divine ideas that come to us. Paul, in his letters, wrote about becoming a new creature in Christ. The caterpillar becoming a butterfly. We live in an interesting time because, okay, we've got LGBT plus people wrestling with who they are, yet finally, after hundreds of years, willing to say, wait a minute, I need to be who I am. What business is it of yours if you don't agree? Henry David Thoreau had the luxury of secluding himself on Walden Pond, Massachusetts, and February of 1857, a friend of his wrote to him saying he was very concerned that he had withdrawn from society. And Thoreau wrote him back, "You think I'm impoverishing myself by withdrawing from humanity. But in my solitude I have woven for myself a silken web, a nymph-like shell. Ere long bursts forth the more beautiful and perfect creature." So, from a spiritual perspective, what's your problem? It may be the greatest blessing you have in your life right now. Okay, let's take a look at this week's takeaways, printed there in your bulletin. If you're watching online, just shoot us an email. We'll send these to you. First, things change. Deal with it. Our thoughts and feelings combine to become a belief. And once we believe in something and we're willing to pour some energy into it, it demonstrates in our world. So we have to recognize that whatever we create, whatever we persist with, the day will come that needs to dissolve. Sometimes that cycle happens within a few hours. Sometimes it happens over 80 years. But we need to recognize the cycle is there. Go with it. I have a video I want to show you from Steve Hartman of CBS Affairs.
Generally speaking, if you're a kid growing up in Pittsburgh, like Jesse and Josh Lyle, the last place you ever want to be is in a courtroom across the table from Detective Jack Mook.
That is.
Mook is a by-the-book, no-nonsense, chew-em-up, spit-em-out, 22-year veteran of the force. Outside of work, he's a committed bachelor, a man's man, who would never so much as let a Vidalia see his soft side. For fun, he hits people and volunteers at the Steel City Boxing Gym, teaching the sport to underprivileged kids.
Most of the kids that come in this gym are street kids. I'm not going to hurt you. Many of them have been born into poverty.
Kids like Jesse and his older brother Josh. Long before their date in court, Jack had been working with them.
Turn that hand.
He really liked these kids and knew the feeling was mutual.
Turn that hand.
So when they just stopped showing up at the gym one day,
Jab, jab.
Jack went out and found them.
And he was asking me about it, and then I just cried.
What Jack didn't know, what no one knew till that moment, was just how bad these kids had it. They were in a foster home with foster parents who Jack says were extremely abusive and neglectful.
They have had it as worse as any other kid that's ever lived in the city of Pittsburgh, living conditions-wise.
Really?
And that just, I had enough of it.
So Jack Mook took matters into his own hands, cashed in some favors, and got the kids placed in a new home.
You want something else to eat?
His. For Jack, it's been quite an adjustment.
I'm in here trying to learn my culinary skills, brother.
But I get the sense that you're really loving this.
Yeah, yes. It's awesome. It's the best thing I ever did in my life.
At least it was the best thing.
That's it.
Until the day he went to court and did one better.
He'll be successful.
Adopted the boys.
All right, come on, guys.
And made them Mooks.
You're Mook, right? You happy?
After this story first aired in 2014, we got a lot of email. A surprising amount from women who wanted to meet this guy.
So did you email us? Are you one of those?
No, no.
Mary says she saw the story, but she met him at a bar.
Did you go to the bar because you knew he'd be there?
Yes.
Aha, yeah.
I am
For all
answering
America
honestly.
to see.
They were married last summer. She came with 3 of her own, so now Jack and the boys are part of a Brady Bunch, a family none of them could have ever imagined just a few years ago. Jack especially.
I thought being single was fun, because you don't have no responsibilities. But when you're single, you don't realize what you're missing. I'm glad I let her break through that barrier and take me away from that life.
Sounds like it wasn't just the boys who were rescued. Steve Hartman, on the road, in Pittsburgh.
Closing Bible verse from the Christian Testament, first letter to Corinthians, 13th chapter. Paul For now, we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in parts, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. May you always be open to God's guidance and grace. We now have some special music. Andrew Marbury, Danza Brazilian.
How's that for emerging from the cocoon? Andrew Marler, let's hear it again. Woo! That was wonderful.
We have time for an encore. Thank you, Andrew. That was wonderful, wonderful. I wasn't kidding. If this is your first time at Unity, we're glad you're here. And we hope that you're finding a place of like-minded people and a place to belong. We teach spiritual tools that can help you no matter what's going on in your life. Generosity is important to us, and we will donate $5 to a local charity of your choice. Just write your email on the card in our welcome packet and leave it in our office. We don't want to put you on the spot, but raise your hand if you're here for the first time, and we'll bring you a welcome packet, or you can pick one up on the way out. Well, Susan, welcome. Glad you're here. We hope you'll return, and maybe Andrew will play another song for us. I'm pushy. We now have an opportunity to support our spiritual cooperative. If you would like to donate by credit card, go to our website, unityhillcountry.org. Click on the donate button, and please set up an automatic weekly or monthly contribution. If you would prefer to mail us checks, please mail them to Unity of the Hill Country, 1016 Jefferson Street, Kerrville, Texas, 78028. And we thank you for your generosity. And these two ushers will bring our offering baskets up now, and together we can say our offertory blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I send it forth with my blessings and my love. We open our hearts in gratitude for these freely given donations. We send these gifts forward through our congregation and into our world, blessing all that it affects. Amen. There's more. Okay, we have some announcements. Of course we do. So please refer to the schedule that's on the back of your takeaway handout, and I will bring us up to date too. The Serenity Al-Anon meets at noon on Mondays. If you have a friend or a loved one who's suffering from addiction and you need support, please visit Al-Anon. The Naked Now has been canceled for the month of June, as several of the regular attendees will be out of town. The Course in Miracles, facilitated by Charlie Diggs, meets at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. The Codependence Anonymous meets weekly on Thursdays. The meeting time has been moved to 7 p.m. from now on. This is an open meeting for everyone who's interested, and please visit the codependentanonymous.org for more information. The Center of Calm Meditation Group meets weekly from 10:30 a.m. on Thursdays. You have an opportunity to use the meditation chapel before service on Sunday. Our beautiful little chapel over there. If you would like an opportunity to serve our community, please be a Sunday host, an usher, a daily word reader, and please let us know using the sign-up sheets that are out in the lobby on the table. We have several members looking to step away from our Sunday commitments by the end of the month, So there are plenty of opportunities, and it's fun. It is fun. And with that, we have come to the end of our meeting this morning. Please join us in the peace song, followed by a prayer of protection. Please stay for fellowship after the service. Our prayer of protection, this slide will be up on the